My motivating kind of force was thinking about that kid whose name I will never know. I mean, that is something that I would say to myself. Think about this is to support and to help that kid whose name I will never know. I didn't intend to uh, kind of create a
Yeah.
movement. I wrote an article. I did not have many followers on anything. I wasn't a well-known entity. But when I saw that things were kind of moving, I kind of just took the opportunity and, lack of a better word, ran with it. So,
Hey.
and in about the jerk video, I had to make that video because I saw so many Gen Zers just butchering the dance. I'm like, y'all, it's not that hard. Like, what are y'all doing?
Horrible,
It
man.
is like
Horrible.
this is trash.
I'm Joshua Potts, Mr. Potable, always with the brother with the same mother, Aaron Potts, Super Hot Potts, and you're watching and listening to your favorite two black runners win.
Every single two black Tuesday. Yes, sir, and we're back for another Black Tastemakers podcast in this wonderful month of February, where we celebrate the beautiful Black history of our brothers and sisters. So I'm super excited for who we have on today. Not all heroes wear capes, but I'll let Joshua take it away.
No,
Come
for
on,
real, we
man.
got a great one. We really do have a great one. We got to talk to him a little bit, but never on the podcast before, back in the IG Live days when we were doing that a lot. The OGs remember that.
Yeah.
OGs remember that. We're on IG Live every week. But finally, on the podcast, we got this man. He does it pretty much all. Let me tell you guys, man. He's a multiple-time track and field Princeton record holder. He's an elite US 800-meter runner. He's basically the NCAA Superman over the past two years, saving these programs. Now the executive director of the Tracksmith Foundation. Bro, it's great to have him on. Russell DInkins joining us on the Two Black Runners podcast. This is a big day. This is a big day. Hey, I'm hyped for this one. Russell, how's it going?
Hey guys, it's really great to be on. It's funny. I was like, yeah, I've been on your podcast before, but I was like, no, that was the IG Live. I totally thought that I was on y'all's podcast, not the IG. But oh, y'all gassed me up pretty fierce, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the love.
No, you really do deserve it because, like, when you look through, like, what you've done, just not even just from the past 2 years, but, like, bruh, you're fast. You're really fast. Like, you pacing Donovan Brazier to that American record in the 600 indoors as well. And, like, the things you did winning HEPs and stuff when you're at Princeton and everything, like, those are some great accomplishments. So you definitely do deserve it. Like, you definitely do deserve it. And now what you're doing, like, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy.
And he just casually last year was like, yeah, I'm gonna try and like make the Olympic trials, just going out here breaking 150 like it's nothing while he's saving the world all at the same time. Dude, where does this energy come to like handle and juggle all these different things?
Yeah, no, that's yeah, it is kind of crazy. Yeah, I think it just comes from just having a deep love for the sport, but then also just being really committed to being involved in the sport in different ways. So yeah, no, last year was kind of interesting. I mean, when I graduated college, I thought that I was going to, run in college, graduate, and then, to get a regular job and, just do that. And then we're like 8, 9 years later, and I'm still, and there's been so many times where I've been like, okay, this is my last year running. And then I was, oh, let me go out and jog a little bit. And I was, okay, well, let me do a couple workouts. And okay, well, let me do a couple more workouts. And well, let me see if I could pay something. And the next thing you know, I'm racing.
Yeah.
So like that's happened literally 3 or 4 times. And so yeah, I think it just comes from just really enjoying working out, really enjoying racing, enjoying track and field, enjoying being able to meet competitors, uh, see people on their own journeys, and then also just knowing that track and field has been a tremendous gift for me in my life, and being able to share that gift through my running, but then also being able to ensure that others have that gift as well, particularly as an educational pathway. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit later,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I always kind of been, into a whole bunch of stuff. In college, I was doing way too much. I was working 3 or 4 jobs. I was in dance groups. I was in a cappella groups. Don't ask me to sing. I'm not a good singer. I just happened to get into one. But yeah, it was yeah. So that's just kind of always been me. Just having a lot of energy in it and involved in a bunch of stuff.
I feel like it's really crazy what you were just saying earlier. The fact of like every year I was thinking about not really running, and then you go back into it, and it's not like you're going back in to run like a 5K or like some half marathon. Like you're going in to run the 800. Like you gotta have your gloves up. You gotta be ready to go to run the 8. Like what is it about kind of just like the 800 or just being like, because those workouts are hard. We know those 800 workouts are hard, and going lactic like that, like why do you want to keep on, like why do you want to keep on going back to that? I don't understand.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of crazy. I don't know. Like I think, I mean, to be honest, I think I think I always, even though I'll say to myself, oh yeah, I'm not sure, if I'm going to continue to run, I think deep down I still want to, and so I kind of just start easy and kind of don't put any pressure or expectation on myself. And then as the season, or as I start to get in shape, then I start to kind of switch my focus a little bit. But yeah, no, I mean, the, the 800 is something that is it's kind of like a sweet spot for me. Um, I I have decent speed. I have some decent endurance, but I'm not great, when it comes to long stuff.
Yeah.
If I were to go run 5Ks, I don't think it would be that fun because I wouldn't really be that competitive, and sprinting is not, yeah, I'm not, top sprinter, but I can, at least, for the past several years, I've been able to kind of tap into that, you know, 27-second 200 pace, repeatedly, and then 26.5 pace repeatedly, in order to run, 147, 146, 148, those kind of times. So yeah, it's just been something that I've been able to kind of do. And so I think that's why I've gravitated towards it. I've enjoyed kind of seeing kind of the progress, because I can start off and run something modest and then kind of get better and
Yeah.
better each week. And I guess you can do that with a 5K too. I guess if I really decided to, I could run a 5K, but that was
Wait,
maybe the
you
next
ain't trying to
decade
run
of
a
my life,
5K.
but not right now. I'll leave that to the turkey trotters.
Ain't nobody trying to run 100 miles a week. Just
uh,
you know.
no, the 5K is great. I did cross country in high school. I enjoyed doing cross country in high school, believe it or not. Um, so I mean, it's cool, but why run a 5K when you can run an 8?
Yeah, I feel
Hey,
that. Just two
I
laps, it's
understand.
more fun. It's just
Yeah.
more fun. I definitely feel that. But one of the big things you're doing right now, if people that don't know Tracksmith Foundation, you're saving the schools. Really, like, how did the Tracksmith Foundation come about? What was the story behind that? We know, I mean, I think most of our listeners will know about you saving Clemson and all these other things, but did you ever dream that actually like a foundation would come from this?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's really a blessing, man. So I kind of had a feeling towards the middle to late spring slash early summer last year. I
Mhm.
kind of had a feeling that this work would need to continue in a more formal capacity. And I remember speaking to one of the track and field media outlets um, at the Portland Track Fest, where I ran there, and when they interviewed me, and they were asking me, okay, where do we go from here? And I said, yeah, I think the next step is to formalize something. And I was kind of dragging my feet on kind of formalizing something myself, just because I was a bit apprehensive about kind of taking that official step. Uh, but kind of simultaneously in parallel, Tracksmith, unbeknownst to me, had been thinking about kind of creating something formal in order to kind of house the work of preserving track and field programs. And so they contacted me in the fall of 2021 saying, hey, we're thinking about launching a foundation. It's just something we're thinking about right now, but we wanted to know if you would be interested. And I said, yeah, I've actually been thinking about the need for this to be formalized. And so we started being in conversation over the next several months. And then in December, it was announced that they were launching the foundation, which was a beautiful thing. It allows for there to be kind of an institutional entity that is geared towards advocacy on behalf of track and field as a sport that is an equitable opportunity provider along many different lines of diversity, race, class, gender. It is really, one of the most equitable sports out there, and one of the most accessible sports. And so this foundation and the work that we're going to be doing and the programs that we're going to be building out will be geared towards helping to protect, advocate, and bolster this amazing sport that we love.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys are gonna do and put together, and I think it's gonna be something that can really last on. But right now, like I know you guys are early on, but what does like sort of the team kind of look like? It's like how many people are kind of like working through this and going towards this mission? Like what is it like? What are like the day to day like kind of or week to week things kind of look like at the moment?
Yeah, so right now it's a lot of kind of meeting and institutional planning. Some of kind of the boring stuff that
Yeah.
you need to do in order to set up a strong foundation. I am the first official person with the foundation, but the Tracksmith company side is very involved with the work that we're doing as well. So we're having a lot of structural meetings to build out our strategic priorities and our institutional priorities. And I have a bunch of great things down in store, which can't quite announce all of them yet, just because they have to go through kind of a formal approval process. But we have so many awesome things stemming from going from ranging from working with high school athletes to athletes who are in college and beyond. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity that we have to really, help promote the sport, to help provide different ways for people to access opportunity, particularly high school kids who are really academically and athletically talented and just need to have, kind of a pathway provided for them. So we're going to be doing a lot of great things. And then also still with the college advocacy component, supporting teams that have been cut, and then also building out a framework for a toolkit, if you will, for teams that may unfortunately face cuts in the future. There'll be a resource that they'll be able to go to that will have kind of the how to organize, how to structure themselves. Really wanted to be kind of something that a university community, a track and field community can pick up and put in place, particularly not only in terms of like responding to being cut, but also in terms of resiliency. I mean, my dream is to be able to have school communities, team communities in college, be able to just go to where there's resources housed and be able to organize their own alumni structures without needing to do so in response to being cut. Because one of the things that I noticed, all the schools that I worked with, they did not have a robust like alumni parent kind of infrastructure. And I think that's critically important. Schools do not want to cut a team that they see has a really active alumni parent organization, because they know if they cut that team, it's going to give them a lot of trouble, and make the objective of cutting the team meaningfully more difficult. So that's why I strongly believe that having this toolkit so that teams can develop these alumni organizations, these strong alumni organizations themselves, will be critically valuable. So those are some things that I can talk about, but there are other programs and projects that we have that they're going to be they're also going to be launched within this next year that I'm also really excited about.
Yeah, I love to hear like how you're really empowering athletes to kind of not have to solely rely on institutions that don't always have like the best in mind for them at times, or are not thinking deeply about them, especially, we talk a lot about minorities that kind of get looked over in the moment. So I think that's really important. Whereas like I feel like you're combining like this passion of like activism that you can see throughout history, with certain leaders, with your passion for running. Is there like certain activists in your life that you really look to, or that were really like someone that were like idols to you growing up, or is that something you're really into?
That is a really good question. So there are many amazing leaders, from obviously Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer,
Mhm.
to people like Shirley Chisholm, who wasn't necessarily an activist, but she was, um, a really amazing legislator. The first Black female member of Congress, I believe, and the first Black person to run for president. I think it was in 1972 that she ran. Yeah. So history buffs will correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so there are a lot of people. I would be lying if I said that I have deeply studied all of them. Um, it's not like I've just looked up to one person in particular, but just the idea of kind of fighting for what's right has always been something that's been at my core. In high school and middle school, I was always involved in kind of advocacy organizations, whether it was environmental advocacy organizations, racial um, advocacy groups, the athlete ally alliance for like LGBT athletes and stuff. So it's always been kind of an important thing to me to kind of advocate for issues that I cared about. And so kind of getting involved in this work just was kind of a natural extension. And for those who don't know the backstory, Brown University cut their track and field program in June of 2020. And a few days later, the George Floyd murder occurred. And then Brown released a statement saying how they were deeply kind of concerned, what have you, just like everybody else made those
Soul
statements, right?
searching.
Yeah, soul searching, right? Yeah. In the meanwhile, they were literally replacing their men's track and field program with sailing, and their men's track and field program had more Black athletes on it than 4 of their other programs combined. And their sailing team did not have a single Black athlete, and to my recollection, did not have a single person of color on the team at the time. So it was just an egregious kind of slap in the face. Yeah. I got mad, and so I wrote a article on Medium, and that article went viral, and that kind of organically kind of developed into me becoming the go-to person to help save teams. And since then, since writing the article on Medium, helped to save programs at 4 different institutions: Brown, University of Minnesota, William & Mary, and the last one was Clemson. And I'm currently working with Central Michigan University. So hopefully we can get number 5 on the scoreboard as well. But that's kind of how I got involved in this stuff. I didn't intend to kind of create a movement. I wrote an article. I did not have many followers on anything. I wasn't a well-known entity. But when I saw that things were kind of moving, I kind of just took the opportunity and, lack of a better word, ran with it. So, so yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
And you ran longer than 1 minute 50 seconds. Tell you that. It's been running.
I did. Yeah, it was a marathon effort, and we're still running, ultra on that ultra flow,
But you going back to you saying how back in like in high school, you're always in a lot of like advocacy like programs and stuff like that,
Mm.
and things like it's. I know I can't wonder if like 18, 16-year-old Russell was all like, I'm gonna do this because this is like the most niche thing that you could ever like get into, you know, in running. Like I feel like in all these people that we've gone, these black tastemakers, like what they've gotten into is so niche. So like back then, like what were you imagining to be? And then to now, like, did you ever imagine like you'd be stuck in like this kind of realm of running at this time?
In high school, I wanted to do well in school. I wanted to run well, so that I can get recruited. And then, you know, I knew that I wanted to do work in kind of ways that would help people. So
Yeah.
I guess in high school, I was thinking about, you know, working for like for a NGO or something like that. You know, I kind of, you know, I definitely thought I would be working, you know, working and not running, you know, but yeah, I guess I thought I would be working maybe, you know, for the UN or something like that. Like that's kind
Hmm.
of you know, World Health Organization, like something in that realm. That's probably what I thought I was going to be doing. If you told me though at 16, 17, 18 that I would kind of get involved in like some activism and kind of be a movement leader of sorts, I don't think I would have been that surprised. Yeah.
Most definitely, and that makes sense by all those groups you were participating in within high school already
Mm.
too. But talk a little bit about like your run in high school because you got recruited to run at Princeton. Your career there was awesome. When did you start dropping like those fast times where it was like, all right, like this is a reality. Like I can go here for my academics and straight, but I could really be on the team and be one of the best in the HEP in the Ivy League.
Yeah. So yeah, my journey was interesting. So I'm from Philly originally, and there was I was at a really good prep school in the Philly area called Germantown Academy. Great school, loved it. Um, we had some challenging family stuff happening, and they were just it was really affecting my academics. And so Germantown Academy and my mom actually both decided together that it was probably best if I try to go to boarding school for a year while things at home kind of settled.
Uh,
And so the plan was for me to go to boarding school for 1 year. So I went to boarding school. I repeated the ninth grade because things were just so bad that the school said, "Hey, just go home and then reset next year when you go to boarding school." So I went to boarding school, repeated my ninth grade year, and I was only supposed to be up there for 1 year. Then I was supposed to go back to Germantown Academy, but things ended up working out well at the boarding school, which was at Wilbraham and Monson Academy. So I have great love for Germantown Academy, and I have great love for my, you know, the school that I went to for high school for all 4 years, which was Wilbraham and Monson. Wilbraham and Monson, great school. Track and field program was very modest. The school record in the 800 for men was 208 when I got there.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that puts it into perspective. But
Yeah.
I knew, I was like, hey, I am going to get into college for running. One, because I think I'm talented enough, and two, because who else going to pay for it? So I need to run real fast, you know, to get
Yeah.
into,
yeah.
you know. So I was like, all right, we're going to have to run. But I also knew that, okay, I need to make sure my academics are up too, because I need to make myself a full package.
Hmm.
So I was like, I need to have good grades. I need to be in these groups. I need to be in leadership. I need to do all this stuff because I need to make myself as strong of a candidate as possible. And yeah, like I didn't really start, my times didn't really start dropping until it was 2007. I ran 152, which nowadays isn't that fast, but back then that was pretty good for high school.
Yeah, yeah.
Now guys are running, you know, 148s and stuff in high school, but there weren't too many guys running, you know, sub 153 in high school back then. So 152 and also ran 47.6 that summer. And I started getting some bites. But then the next summer, 2008, I went 151.9, which was only a little bit faster, but just that 151.
That's rolling.
Then I got a whole, but I ran 152.3 the year before, and I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty solid. But then when I ran 151.9, then a bunch of schools that were like kind of like so then like started hitting me up like crazy. So I got a lot of looks from the Ivy League. Mostly because I guess my academic profile and also my times kind of fit what they were looking for. But yeah, I expected that I would be able to be a top athlete. And at Princeton, I ran really well there, won a bunch of HEPS titles, was a part of a DMR that won the Nationals in 2013, and made it to Nationals individually twice. And so, I think that my career there was pretty positive. I still see some gaps there. I think a lot of athletes, could say that.
Yeah, and to do that through an Ivy League school, you don't see that every single year. So to find success through that is definitely great to see. But also going back to what you're talking about earlier with your high school days of running, I see like a lot of self-discipline on what you're able to really I don't know if you gained that through track and field, because I would say from a young me and Aaron, we've been running for a long time. I started running when I was 5, and I think a lot of my self-discipline kind of came from running track at 5. And I feel like running track, like sometimes you gotta get up and just run on your own, or you gotta do the drills or the stretching, a little extra stuff to stay healthy. And that kind of like gained my self-discipline. But like and I feel like the self-discipline that you gained has been very strong to be able to get you into like Princeton and all these like records and keep on and moving on sort of independently. Did that really come from track and field coming into your life, or is that something that started earlier on through like your family or something, when you got that self-discipline, independence to be able to move on and do such great things?
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, sometimes I look back and like, wow, I was really disciplined in high school. Like, what happened? Like I was really doing the thing. I think it stemmed from, so I started track and field at 6. So
Okay,
a
yeah.
lot of people started young, and a person that will always be cherished in my life was my club coach, Bob Jackson, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. I think a lot of kids have, um, someone like that, especially if they did club track.
Hmm.
Coach Bob was an amazing person, because for him, yeah, he wanted you to win, but it wasn't about winning. It was about you putting out your best effort and doing the very best that you can, and gaining something out of the process. And for him, it was always about using track and field as a vehicle for educational access, and also using track and field as a way of growing into a responsible young man. And that was what was most important. And that is what he prioritized. I mean, I remember I messed up one of our relays, and we ended up getting 5th, and we probably could have got 3rd, but I didn't run as well on the 4x8. I think I was 9 years old. I was in Buffalo. I remember that. I was crying a lot. And I remember he came up to me and he yelled at me, but not out of him being mad at me. He was upset that I was beating myself up. He's like, you gave me more wins than losses. And what you're not defined by what you do, the time you put out on the track. You're defined by the effort you expend, and the character that you have. And basically he's like, yeah, you didn't run the best this one time. Okay, that's fine. Pick yourself up and do better next time. And I think that kind of value set is what has been at my core, and I'm tremendously grateful that he came into my life. I mean, he's literally saved thousands of kids, and I know me and my family would not be anywhere near where we are if it wasn't for the selflessness that man displayed through his life. I mean, he he spent his time here on this earth in a beautiful way. And I like to think that he really wanted me to kind of take on the team. And, I felt bad because I didn't want to coach club track, but
Mhm.
I feel like in a different way, I'm extending, his legacy because I am still working to provide opportunity through the sport to countless of children, young men, young women
Yeah.
too, because they benefit enormously from the work, having their brothers there. And, we worked with a lot of the female athletes when we were saving these programs. So big shout outs to them. But, having, those young Black and brown faces, women and men having these opportunities, I mean, that's enormously important to me. And so, yeah, sorry, it's getting a little emotional here, but
And the effect that he had on your life, and just hearing you speak about it, it makes sense why track and field is so important to you. But I think it's also awesome to see, like, he saw something within you at such an early age. He saw some type of leadership aspects within you. And sometimes, like, with things like that, like, it doesn't always look how, like, you thought it was, like, oh, he wants me to be like the club coach. And it's almost like, I think back to, like, the story you just told, like, you were crying because you thought he was gonna be mad at you because you messed up. But at the end of the day, it still worked out in a way to where it's like, no, you've got more wins than losses. You put out this effort, and it's like, you're not a club coach, but you're still opening this lane, and you are making his legacy greater. So it's just really appreciate you, like, telling us that story. And yeah, that's really special to see.
And we
Um,
club kids, so we understand the effect that
Definitely.
the coaches can have on our dad was mostly our club coach, but even just the other coaches on the club
Coach
at that
Carlton.
yeah, bro. I feel like influenced a lot, wouldn't you say, Aaron? For sure.
Yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna
and
s-
I mean, good. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say Coach Carlton, Coach Zelda, Victor. Like, I feel like in the Black community, especially in that club realm, a lot of
It
people
really
have
is, man.
have those coaches that really, like, have saved people and influenced them, taught them discipline, how to be a better person. That's just like a thing in our community for sure.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they end up being kind of like, second parents,
Yeah.
and you love them like family because they are your family, like in a very real sense. Um, One of our other coaches, Coach Al, shout out to Coach Al in Pleasantville. He would have a bunch of us stay with him over the summer. We would call it Coach Law. We would call it Camp Laws, Alan Laws, and we would call it Camp Lost because there would be a bunch of us who would stay there during the summer and just train. His son is my age, but he treated us all the same. He didn't give
Yeah.
his son any favoritism. We all had chores. It was, we all, you know, he loved us all the same and pushed us, and we trained together. We got better together. We grew up together, and so you know, especially, when, the I don't want to talk about like stereotype stuff like, absentee Black fathers or whatever like that, because I think that can go in a direction that, that's negative. But, there are folks that do have issues, with not having kind of positive role models. And my dad is in my life, and I'm very thankful for that. But I'm also very grateful that I've had these other amazing men in my life, in addition
Mhm.
to my father, to lean on and to have, also Black women. I mean, we had, the Miss Diane. She was our like receptionist, and she would, she would sometimes coach us too. I mean, it was just a um, tremendously informative experience. I know that experience is not unique to me. There are so many kids who've experienced that, whether they did track, from 6 to 18 like I did, or only did it for a few years. Just having that kind of community around them, I think it's really, really important. But one thing I will say, when I first started, I was terrible. I got dead last in all the cross country meets, snot, like just crying, like awful. And Coach Bob was like, oh no, he's going to be good. And my dad was like, okay, yeah, you just saying that because, you want this due. But, and for some, and one thing that I will say that my mom made me do, because I wanted to quit after that first day, because first day was cross country and they made us run up this big hill and I was sick. So I don't ever want to do that again. And I was like, Mom, I don't want to do this no more. And she was like, no, if you start something, you have to finish it. And I think that also is something that is instilled within me, but also is one of the most beautiful things about, our sport. It's hard, it is hard to get out there.
Going back to what you're saying and your experience, specifically like going to Princeton and having that opportunity and then running a little bit afterwards, I want to go to like the speech that you made at the USTF CCCA convention. Kind of like, that's like, why is that acronym so long?
I know.
Like, come on, man. Like, y'all saw me, I was kind of struggling. I think I said one too many C's, but no, at that coaches convention that they have every single year, one of the biggest stages to kind of speak to all the coaches about your mission with the Tracksmith Foundation. And I like the part when you said on there saying that like your story isn't particularly like unique. There's a lot of people that have this story. And what we just heard, your story is kind of unique, but I understand where you're coming from. There's a lot of kids that have that same story of being that 152, 151 guy, or that 207 or 206 girl that have these opportunities, and to have that stripped away from them can be horrible. But like, what is over these past 18 months, like what are some of those things that you kind of realized more and more about your experiences and the experience that's getting stripped away from some of these athletes, these NCAA athletes, that makes it so valuable, and why that not so unique experience becomes one of the best thing that somebody can really go through?
Yeah. So, I mean, what was at the core of a lot of this work? I mean, for the last 18 months, kind of my motivating factor, my motivating kind of force was thinking about that kid whose name I will never know. I mean, that is something that I would say to myself. And I even, said it in a few other podcasts. But it's true. I would think about, this is to support and to help that kid whose name I will never know. Because I know how important it is to have educational opportunity provided through the pathway that track and field can provide. I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily think about the fact that recruitment slots are direct pathways to admission. And so like a lot of the other Olympic sports that are on campus are very homogenous along racial and socioeconomic lines. So they tend to be very affluent. I said that on the IG live last time, I remember. But they tend to be very cost prohibitive. Like, they're just expensive. And they also tend to be, very white. I mean, some of the NCAA sports are like 85% white. Like, it's actually, it's not a diverse opportunity provider. My argument has never been to take away any of those opportunities, but the simple fact of the matter is those sports provide direct pathways via recruitment to communities that are almost exclusively white and almost exclusively upper middle class to upper class in terms of income. Track and field is one of the few sports, and it's the only non-revenue sport that provides pathways that are accessed by people from a broader range. So a broader range of social economics and also a broader range of race. And it also is the only sport besides football and basketball that offers significant opportunity every single year to Black athletes, both on the male and female side. And so it was tremendously important for me to ensure that these academic pathways, because let's be real, we're talking about running in college. What's college? It is a place of higher learning. Yeah. These are educational pathways, distinct educational pathways. And so it was important for me to make sure that these pathways continue, because here's the thing, everyone is not going to run and become pro. Everyone is not going to run, and even pro track, I mean, unless you're at the top, there ain't a whole bunch of money in it. So like, it is not, most people are not going to do that, and that's fine. We need to ensure that some of our lower income brothers and sisters, and then also, our Black and Brown brothers and sisters are able to access these opportunities. So whether they are from, the hills of Appalachia throwing, that shot put out the ring, or whether they are in Baltimore, sprinting, that 100 real fast, these kids need to have these opportunities. And for me, it was particularly important that these Black and Brown kids have these opportunities. And so that was my driving force. That's been my motivation then, and it's my motivation now, because at the end of the day, educational access that benefits these communities is vastly important.
Well, it's definitely, and like you're saying, like it's not, it is a need. Like it is a need for people to have that pathway. And I think about my own, career path, and I just think like going to college, getting that scholarship or whatever it is, like just being there and meeting people and getting different vantage points depending where you're coming from means so much, and you make so many connections, like especially in like this running world, which has led me to where I'm at. Just like all the different connections I've made with people through running, learning about things I didn't even know existed when I was in high school. So eliminating that for so many people that don't make it in other sports is like outright wrong. But what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions our community has when it comes to running? Because we're always going for basketball, we're going for football, like the big sports. What do you think are some of the misconceptions in our community that people have when it comes to track and field?
So our community, mean Black community?
Black community, yes.
All right, I just wanted
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
wanted
you're
to be
being
sure.
straight up.
All right, cool.
They can't see us on the podcast.
Well, I
No,
mean,
yeah.
if they listen to this podcast, they should already know. But yeah. All right. So we'll keep it 100. So everybody ain't that fast. So everybody should not be running the 100, the 200. Let's just put that out there, like straight up.
100.
Like if you go to some of these youth track meets, like the 200 will take 3 hours. It's like, oh, we can like leave,
that's
go to
facts.
Denny's, come back. Like it's just like, and they still do the 200 because everybody run the 200. Like, oh man, baby girl, you ran a 45-second 200. You should not be running the 200. Let's figure out another event for you. That doesn't mean that you, can't be a great, athlete in something, but maybe the 200 isn't the
Yeah.
spot. So I think that's a misconception. It's in terms of football, basketball, I understand why those lures are there. But what I will say from a recruitment side, if you're looking at trying to use athletics like sport in order to get your kid into college, let's put aside pros for a second, because I understand the lure of trying to get into the league, and the kind of the possibility that presents. But there's such a fractionally small percentage that can make it to the league. So that's kind of we have to put that there. But you have a better chance. I mean, because basketball teams in college are about 15 to 18. So the amount of slots that are available to you in basketball is just a lot fewer than the amount of slots that are available with track and field, given that track and field teams typically are about 50 athletes or more. And so it's harder to get a full ride with track and field, but you can get a partial athletic scholarship, and that could be coupled with an academic or merit-based, or if you fit into some sort of affinity group, or if you're in state. So there are ways that you can get a full package cobbled together. And so in terms of kind of like strategy, track and field actually provides I think, a better strategy for getting into college via sport compared to basketball. But, if you have a really talented basketball athlete, do it. I'm not going to say don't, just run track because I love track. Like, if you are really, really talented at that sport, do that sport. But just be honest with yourself. yeah, football actually provides a really good pathway. So I know I know where I'm trying to pull people back from football, but I'm just being honest. Like if you're looking at if you're looking at the finances, nuts and bolts, it's like if the objective is to get little Jimmy or little Jalil, into like a college via their sport and to have it be paid for in full or by a significant part, um, you know, football is actually a pretty good pathway if they do have the athletic kind of acumen for it. But again, I think families, kids, they got to be honest with themselves. And being honest with yourself does not mean limit yourself. Don't do that. But just be honest with, okay, is my talent level consistent with competing in college and getting a scholarship? If yes, great. Then the next question you should ask is, okay, my talent level is that, but am I currently there? And then if you are currently there, okay, what do I need to do? And if you're not currently there, what do you need to do to get there? And so I know looking back on me, I knew I wanted to compete in college. I knew when I was a freshman, I wasn't currently there. I knew that my coach in high school was great, wonderful, nice guy, but they never, I mean, the school record was 208, so like I knew that in order to run faster, I would have to take a lot of it into my own hands. So I talked to the coach, said, hey, at these dual meets, I knew we had 2 meets a week. I was like, hey, can I run the 1500, the 800, the 400, and the 4x4 every meet? He said, yeah. So I did that every meet. What is that? It's basically a workout, We'll run a 15, and the 1500 was not fast. It was like 215. I mean, not 215, 415, and then I would run like a 207, 800. Then I would run like a 50 point, 400, so I was doing that every week. And, that was basically 2, workouts a week. And then I would gradually get a little bit more in shape. And then by the summer, when I was able to come back down to Philly and train with my club coach, I had a decent base, and then I was able to kind of build on that in order to run faster. So I figured out a strategy for me based off of my context. Other kids will have to figure out what works for them. But that's what I said. So like ask yourself, do I have the talent to get there? If the answer is yes, am I currently at the level where I can get recruited? If the answer is yes, then you make certain decisions. If the answer is no, what do you need to do in order to get there? So that's what I would say for the high school listeners who are listening, or the parents or the families who are listening who have talented high school athletes.
What I like about track too is like you can really just look and be like, okay, I need to run this time to get there. Whereas like football, there's a lot of opportunities, but then it's like there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people you're competing with. They want you to be like a certain size, a certain height. There's like camps to go to and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the biggest advantages with track. You could be like, all right, I need to run 152 to go to a D1, a D2, or 3-3. You can like really like lay out the times, and you can, like you're saying, you have a lot more control on your own. Whereas football, you got like, it's more likely like the coach is gonna be very, involved over like your playing time and little politics like that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing about track. A time is a time, a mark is a mark, a throw is a throw, right? And so, if you throw something, far, if you jump something higher far, if you run a good time, that stands, and that speaks for itself. So I do think that in that way, track and field is really egalitarian. It kind of evens the playing field, because football is one thing, but like there's a lot of these sports like lacrosse, some of these other sports, you have to go to really expensive combines. You have to make highlight reels. Not that you don't have to do that for football too, but football is a little bit easier for lower income families to access that process. But the process for recruitment for something like some of these more niche Olympic sports, it's very, very cost prohibitive. And track and field, it's not, it does cost some money to go to like to the indoor nationals or the outdoor nationals. But if you compare that amount of money to the amount of money that these other families are paying for all these other things they have to do in order to get recruited, it kind of pales in comparison, And now, there's so many cool high school meets where if you're at a certain level, they'll sponsor you to go to the meet and stuff like that. So, there are different ways of, of making it happen.
No, most definitely, most definitely. And as we start closing out in the podcast, Russell, we have a few more questions before we get out of here. But I want to start. I want to start here before we get out of here, bro. Like your Instagram name is Dancing Dinks, so we know like you dance. You dance. I seen you back in December. You were jerking, hitting the reject and everything. You know, me and Aaron, we on that wave. Jerking ain't dead. Jerking ain't dead. I can tell you that. Where's your relationship with dance, and like how do you find like comfort in that? Because I see you dance a lot.
Yeah, I kind of wiggle a lot. So it's funny. I actually have thought about changing my Instagram and Twitter handle a lot, because it's like Dancing Dinks. So like, yes, it's nice, kind of like alliteration right there. But besides that, people are like, wait, he's a runner, so why is it called Dancing Dinks? And so I've thought about changing it a bunch. And also, it's kind of like cutesy and it's like not as professional or whatever. But I don't know. I just haven't changed it yet, and I'll probably keep it the same for a while. But in college, that was my nickname. My nickname was Dancing Dinks, and then it got shortened to just Dancing. And the reason why is because I would just always just be like around the locker room, even this is ridiculous, in between reps, like workout reps. And I'll be like, okay, all right. Whew, all right, let's go. It's kind of like a way for me to kind of get myself amped for the pain that was about to ensue. So so I was always kind of wiggling around. Even now, I still kind of wiggle around, groove around. So that's kind of where it came from. Not like a trained dancer or anything like that, but I did do some hip hop and stuff in college, which was a lot of fun. And like a dance group that I was in. I was also in a step group. We were pretty clean. I ain't gonna hold you. We were look up. So I wasn't on this performance, but y'all should Google look up on YouTube Princeton High Steppers, the Today Show. They performed the Today Show clean, crisp. I was it was we were doing some things, but and about the jerk video, I had to make that video because I saw so many Gen Zers just butchering the dance. I'm like, y'all, it's not that hard. Like, what are y'all doing?
Horrible, man.
It's just like this is trash. Like, all right, let me show y'all how we were doing it circa 2008, 2009.
We were interested too in your hair journey. We see your dreads, your locks is long, man.
They are very long. They're too long. Yo, okay. If we're gonna keep it 100, I was straight up. I got this hat on because the new growth is insane and it needs to get tamed. And right literally like 5 minutes before, I was like retwisting the back because I'm gonna get a shape up later, and I need to get it undercut. And sometimes for people who got dreads and have undercuts, that if you don't have it retwisted, they can do an undercut and then cut into part of like the base of your dread, and then your dread gets weak. So I had to just like retwist a little bit so they don't cut into the base of my dreads. But yeah, I've had this hair journey for a minute. I've thought about cutting off my dreads, but I also feel like it's just I feel like I'm so recognized by this now. That's like a part of me. But these joints are getting heavy though, so I'm gonna need to trim these bad boys. So, and I might switch up the color. I was thinking about dyeing them, but we'll see. I might show up on the track, spraying with some red dreads. We'll see.
Red tips.
No, the whole thing.
Oh,
we ain't doing tips. The whole thing. If I dye it, we're gonna dye it.
Going in.
But we'll see.
That's extra weight on the track though too.
That's why I need to trim these things. This joint is like it's down to the small of my back. It's like it's actually annoying. Like I gotta kind of like put it up when I go to bed because otherwise like it gets like caught on my back. It's a little annoying. But I love the fact that I have dreads. I started them in college, and it feels like there's just so a part of me. But I think at some point I might switch it up. But for now they're cool. But thanks for asking about my hair journey.
It's great. Our oldest brother, he has dreadlocks. He's cut them off once, but now he got them like back. His dreads are long. His dreads are super long too, as well. As in Black History Month too, we wanted to ask all our guests that come on your top 3 favorite Black sitcoms. What are your top 3?
Oh yeah, this is actually excellent. Top 3 Black favorite sitcoms. All right, so I loved My Wife and Kids.
Yes.
That one, I feel like that's underrated.
It's so
That one
underrated,
is-
bro.
Dance battle with Cat Williams, bro.
Oh my God, like it is. And then the physical comedy between oh, is that Damon? No, it's not Damon. It's
It is Damon Wayans, right?
no, it's
Or is it
Damon is the
Mike-
oldest one. It's the second oldest one.
Michael?
Who?
What's his name? Oh, that's his name on the show.
Yeah, Michael. Whatever. Him and I keep going to call her Pam. That was her name. No, not Pam. I keep going to call her Gina.
I know you're talking about.
Oh my God.
Tanya? No, it doesn't.
No, Tisha Arnold. Whatever.
Yeah.
Michael and the female lead. The comedy, the comedic style that they have between them is just excellent. The other two, that's a tough one. I loved Living Single growing up. I did love Martin. Watching Martin more recently, it feels dated, unfortunately. Like Martin doesn't hold up as well to me. I think the Bernie Mac show was great too. So all right, I'm gonna go with those three: Bernie Mac, My Wife and Kids, and Living Single. I think is that my final answer? Yeah, I think that's my final. There's so many shows, man. Like that's hard. But I'll pick those three. But if you ask me another day, I'll probably have a different three. But because yeah. All right, and this isn't like a sitcom, but I'm sorry. The Proud Family was also like stupidly funny, and that's a cartoon, obviously. But do y'all remember the episode Sugar Mama's Get Up and Go Bars? Like,
She put her foot in it.
Yeah, she put her foot in it. Like, I remember I showed that to my mom and great grandma, and we were all just rolling. They're just like, I will say, there's a new show out right now called Abbott Elementary on ABC. Class.
Aaron, have you seen that?
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it though.
You need to see it. It's Quinta. So do you remember? Oh, you got money. You remember that like thing? Yeah. So she created the show. She's also from Philly, and the show is set in Philly, and I'm from Philly, so this is a lot of kind of love for that aspect of it. But it's just really intelligently written. It's really funny. It shows like all these like Black kids in school in a way that doesn't seem to like it doesn't show them in a negative light, which is beautiful. And it's just also really funny. Like, it is great. So I highly recommend. It's a new series on ABC. I would definitely recommend people check that out. I think that might be one of my new favorites, to be honest.
Yeah, so that's a good show. But Camila said the Bernie Mac show last week too. So
wow,
people have love for that show for sure.
Yeah, rest in peace to the great Bernie Mac, comedic genius.
For real. And then also we got 3 more questions. But like, are there any people out there right now, or a company or someone in running that you want to shout out that's just doing really great stuff right now?
Ooh, great stuff. Yeah, I have to think about that for a little bit. I mean, there's just so many people that are doing some awesome stuff. I will shout out, there's one person I'll think about, or 2 people. I think Chris Chavez and Kyle Merber are doing some great stuff with their platforms. Particularly, Kyle, given his experience as a former pro athlete, and now with his newsletter, I think it's really giving a really fresh look at things with the sport. So I appreciate how he's been kind of in that space. So I'll shout those 2 out. But there's just so many people doing so many great things.
Then also, sometimes we don't know who'd get next on the podcast, so we gotta always ask, who should we have on the podcast next? Who's somebody that we'd love to see come on 2 Black Runners that would fit the mold, have a great interview, a great talk, great discussion?
Ooh, there's just so many. There's so many people. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I have one person in mind, but I don't want to put them on blast, because they might be mad at me for putting them on blast. But Yeah, that's a good one. Who would be a good runner? So I do think so I don't know Nia Akins that well, but I think she just released some music, and I think that would be like a really cool person to kind of interview, because you could ask her about her experience running in Philly, at Penn, going over to Brooks in Seattle, and then how she's mixing her professional running career with her other interests in music. I think that could be a pretty interesting conversation.
Definitely. That's definitely someone we've had in mind for some time now too. So we'll have to make that happen.
Yeah, and and I always got love for the Ivy League 800-meter runners. So I have like certain friends in my head. I don't really. I've said hey to her a couple times. We don't really know each other, but a friend in my head. So you should get her on the pod. I also listen to her song. It's a really cool kind of singer-songwriter vibe. So it's cool to see track and field athletes embracing like other aspects of themselves.
I think we gotta make that one happen. That would be tight. That would definitely you. Then last question. Then we know you gotta go. We gotta get out of here. But last question. It's kind of deep, but wherever you want to take with it, what mark do you want to leave on the sport when it's all done? We like to ask everybody that, just to end it off and just leave off from there.
Beautiful. I think that's a great question. So I think what's most important is having an impact that continues well beyond when you are done being active in the sport. And for me, what will be beautiful is if I was able to really make track and field this protected entity in college, in college sport, so that these pathways are protected and continue, and so that thousands of kids all over this country can continue to have those opportunities. That's what's that's what's really that's kind of the mark that I want to leave, because me rabbiting great races, me running great times, those are all important to me, and those are all personal goals. But even the greatest champions, the impact of like the times or the things that they've created, the memories of that stuff kind of fades. But if you have something that lasts, like opportunities that continue to benefit, the next generation, that's a living kind of legacy. And so, I want to run fast times. I want to do some cool things with with my own career. But what's most important is that the legacy lives, and so that's kind of how I would like to leave the mark, a living legacy.
Yeah, everybody's dropping bars on this question this month already. Like, sheesh, come on, man. You definitely just in the beginning, still just starting. Excited to see where you go. Appreciate you coming on the podcast, and you're making all these club coaches out here so proud, bro, for sure.
I appreciate that, y'all, and and also congrats to y'all. I mean, you guys are growing. I love to see what you guys are doing. Love following y'all journey, and I know that it's only going to get bigger and better from here. So I also want to shout y'all out too.
Thanks, man. It means a lot coming from you. It means a lot, man. Appreciate everybody that listened to this far. As Aaron always says, y'all real homies for sure. Hey, see y'all next week on Two Black Runners. Let's get it.